Welcome, adventurers! For those of you wondering what you might need to know about what happened at Evermore last year, this video is for you. If you want to learn about the seasons in further detail, I do have videos about the opening of Mythos and a more in-detail video about the lore Halloween season, so I will link those in the description below. And if you want to keep up with what Evermore is doing in 2022, as well as other immersive experiences and costume projects and artist interviews, this is a great place to do that. Let's get to it. At the start of the year, we got a total story reset from the previous years at Evermore. And there's always a possibility that that could change, or that things that happened in what we call old school Evermore could come back into relevance. We don't know. We'll have to see how things are going this year once Mythos starts. The setting is in England, somewhere in the wishy-washy, timey-wimey area of 1860-ish. It's a magical place where portals open to other worlds. As is typical of Evermore, there are several guilds in town. Some of these include the Elven Rangers and Knights from Mythos, Dragon Trainers, the Blackheart Hunters, and the Pirates, all of whom vie for power, influence, and opportunity. Early in the season, the Pirates revealed they found a relic from the Dragon Wars of Mythos. It was a black arrow powerful enough to take out a dragon or other powerful being. They allowed world walkers to vote on which guild should get it. Eventually, the Blackheart Hunters are given the arrow. Princess Delphi of Mythos and her knights are in town. A portal to the world of lore has opened in the mausoleum, and there are some knights in the lore side of the portal that are trying to convince world walkers to strengthen the connections so that they can walk through the portal into Evermore. They are following orders from the Queen of Lore, who, as it turns out, is secretly working to strengthen the portal enough so that she can invade Evermore with her forces. And Lore is struggling. It's a world full of monsters, and it's a world and a city wherein at the center of it is the Citadel, the capital, that is the safest area in Lore. And the farther out that you are in the city, the more in danger you are from these monsters and attacks. On top of monster problems, the Queen has been acting strangely. She started to act cruel instead of her normal self. And there's an entity called the Gravedigger who is creating unearthed, basically undead zombie creatures in an army trying to take over the capital of Lore. One of the Black Knights, named Damien, is starting to have feelings for Princess Delphi of Mythos, and she is starting to return those feelings. They're kind of having a thing. There are also several witches in town. All can tell you that the black rocks and the roses that the knights are having you plant in town have bad energy to them, that they don't trust him, that they're worried about this strengthening of the portal of lore. One of the witches is named Aliena, and she is out there asking the hard questions of everyone. Then she is found murdered in the woods. Trials were held over the next few weeks where world walkers could represent the guild they had joined and research the murder, and they would have a trial and accuse who they believed it was, and then the crowd would vote to see who was put into the stocks for the night, and if they got paid bail they could get out, but they remained a suspect. In the end, it's discovered that the knight Darian Toffel was responsible for Aliena's murder. In his confession, he said he was surprised by Aliena when she called after him in the woods. He struck a heavy blow, not realizing who it was that was following him, and did not realize his own strength, and it killed her instantly. Once he was found guilty, he was stripped of his rank and he confessed that he had been taking a special draught to enhance his strength from a mysterious hooded figure up in the mausoleum area. Don't trust that. And it turns out what he'd been drinking is vampire blood, and he did not realize that he's slowly being turned into a vampire. Worldwalkers voted that Darian should be cured and kept on probation rather than killed.
Sadly, the cure did not work, and he was able to slip away from the knights that were watching over him. Theo, one of the dragon trainers, got pulled into the portal to Lore. Princess Delphi decided to go after Theo to save her, even though Delphi's knights tried their best to stop her. She snuck past them. Delphi was unable to find Theo, and when she returned, she had been given the Queen's blessing, which means the Queen of Lore was in her head and could control her at will. She gave the knights some sort of mind control potion to do her bidding,
and telling everyone that she was now the Queen of Evermore and trying to take over, as one does. Of course, at this point, Damien starts to realize that he doesn't really want to help his queen, who has inhabited the body of the woman that he likes, and that he does not want an undead army to invade Evermore and possibly kill him along with others. So he determines to free Princess Delphi from the Queen of Lore's influence, and he's able to use the black arrow that the Blackheart Hunters give him, and he stabs Delphi with it. It's a risky move. Fortunately, Delphi did not die, and the Lorian Queen's influence was taken out of her. Mostly. We'll get to that. There's also a shady vampire hanging up at the mausoleum area. I don't know for sure if this was how Darian got the blood, if he was getting it from this vampire, but it wouldn't surprise me. Okay, next season we have Lore. Princess Delphi's feeling pretty good. She just has memory issues at night. Whenever it gets dark, I'm sure that's fine. She's going to focus her thoughts on helping the town by throwing a pumpkin festival. Guess who else came to join the party? Mordrin the Pumpkin King, and this guy is going to be all sorts of bad news this season. Gets a character called the Tosher to do his bidding, helping him lure people away to gain influence over them. You can tell that they are infected because they suddenly think they are storybook characters. Mordrin is the darkness from Lore, which is a term that we have heard in other years, and it's always been the big mega bad from Lore. Is the darkness the same as the Gravedigger that was making the undead army? Does the Gravedigger work for him? Are they friends? We don't know. The town summons the spirit of a king who has been able to defeat Mordrin in the past when he was in the form of a black dragon. The king is not able to help this time, so they have to look into other options. A character named Jack finds a powerful Everfrost dagger from Aurora, and the Worldwalkers vote on which guild's idea to use to best use the dagger to defeat Mordrin. Apparently we vote wrong because the Coven's plan, who won, did not work. So I guess that just goes to show that your vote does matter, and it will change the story because it didn't work. One of the Blackheart Hunters, Cedric, during this time finds out that the vampire who has been up at the mausoleum is actually the super powerful Arch Grimoire Casimir, and he's raising an army to take over Evermore, as one does. Cedric and Grim kill him. Coven's plan to defeat Mordrin doesn't pan out. Grim fights him and kills Mordrin, dying in the process. Delphi is finally free of the Lore Queen's influence, and she and Damien go off to get married. Now, I did a more fleshed out review of Lore in a separate video, so to hear more about Cedric and his vampirism that he was dealing with, as well as a really interesting story between Annie, Nox, and Cinder, go check out the full Lore video that I will link below. And finally, Aurora was their Christmas season. And they did something very interesting where they took away every single familiar character. Other than the Frost Weavers were very much a callback to, they were called Frost Lords in past years, but they kind of switched up their theming on the Frost Lord characters. We'll probably continue to see some of the regular guilds cycle through in other seasons. Evermore has been making guild reveal posts, so we already know some of the guilds that will be returning for Mythos. The theme of Aurora was a callback to classic Christmas films such as Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, The Year Without Santa Claus. All season we have the Frost Weavers and the Flame Pact at odds with each other. And like I said, we've seen Frost Lords before at Evermore, but this time they are called Frost Weavers, and they're sort of frost elementals, and they really play all season with this theme of fire versus ice with these two guilds. We also have the Von Mueller Company as one of the guilds, and the Toy Guild, and the Joy Makers from the Klaus House. Klaus House? I think so. You could join one or both guilds and you would learn magic from them, which means that you would go on a quest for them, and then they would tell you where you could find a specific place to activate a spell. So this is sort of like in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, when you can wave your wands in front of the windows and it will make something happen in the window. It's like that, but generally it was a button you would push, object you would move slightly.
You're doing standing around. Time is money.
It would create that fire spell or that ice spell effect with sound effects and lights, which was really cool. And that was one of my favorite things this season, actually, was just questing to learn the different spells and doing that with friends and helping different guilds with their rivalries against each other.
Oh God, he's got my boss!
We should go!
The Von Mueller Company is run by Conrad von Mueller, and he is so wealthy that he has bought the entirety of Evermore. I assume he sold it back to someone now. I don't know. He's also trying to get his hands on the schematics of the toys that Hazel is making, because she uses animancy. She's not exactly sure how she does it, but she had learned how to bring toys to life with magic. And so Mr. Von Mueller here is trying to find out how she does it so that he can capitalize on that and make living toys. All the while, she's trying to make an orphanage to put all these toys in so that they can have a home, but she has to build it on Conrad's land, so he keeps on upping the price and making it impossible for her to build. So they have to put one of the toys into the Flame Pact, who are working with the Von Mueller Company. Do we have that clear? Okay. Von Mueller Company and the Flame Pact are in cahoots. They're shady. So Miss Hazel sends one of the toys to go investigate, and they are able to find a bunch of dirt on them so that they are able to blackmail them into letting them build the orphanage and even paying some of the expense for that. All the while, Conrad is making extremely grinchy laws against Christmas and posting them up on the tavern wall.
Toys are hereby declared illegal, immoral, unlawful.
Who hurt this man? Who hurt him? Okay, we are in the final leg now, but there is one other important plot element that I think is definitely going to tie into things next year, and it has to do with the Frost Weavers. Queen Vessa of the Frost Weavers has come to Evermore on a diplomatic mission. She, Pensri, and Laurent are Frost Elementals. Pensri is a commander of the Royal Guard and learned that Queen Vessa was in danger from a dark entity looking for a Frost Elemental to possess. She used divination to seek out a teacher of chronomancy, which is time magic, so that she could create a time loop to be able to keep Vessa safe in Evermore for as long as it took to find a solution. So keep the queen safe until they were able to get rid of the threat. Her divination summoned a voice that taught her the magic she needed. It often spoke to her in the catacombs, and sometimes the words would be caught on the wall. You could see them with a blacklight effect that you could activate, and you could see some of the words of their conversations on the wall. This time loop caused Evermorians to believe that every Friday was Christmas Eve and every Saturday was Christmas. And anyone who used divination powers was especially confused because of this spell going on and would forget that they had met people and forget what day it was.
Pensri started to worry that her teacher had taught her a faulty spell on purpose. She stopped using chronomancy, but the spell continued on without her. The Frostweavers and Flame Pact put aside their differences long enough to use their combined magics to break the time loop. Pensri said the spell had used a great deal of animancy,
or life magic, and theorized that it was being used to cast the magic over and over until the animancy spell was strongly established in Evermore. Was this mystery voice trying to bring something to life in Evermore? Was it trying to kill something in Evermore? Was it trying to revive Mordrin? Was it trying to take over Vesa? We don't know. It's a little bit of a mystery. Once this time loop is broken, Vesa receives a letter from the king in Aurora telling her that he has lost contact with her sister and urging her to return to Aurora. And they realize that this letter was several weeks old, so they rushed back to Aurora. Now, there were several mentions in both the lore and Aurora seasons about the Fae King. One of these was that when the Pumpkin King, or Mordrin, was defeated, another voice came into him saying something to the effect of he was known as the Fae King. Then he withered, he went away somewhere for Aurora. We heard some of the divination users mention something about the Fae King. We've had the Fae King in several seasons of Evermore in the past, so I think we can definitely expect to see him in one form or the other, whether that be as a big puppet like we've seen in the past or as an actor. I think we can definitely expect to see something happen with the Fae King. So what do you think will happen in Evermore this year? Who do you think was teaching Pensri magic and created the time loop? What do you think will happen with the Fae King? Leave your comments below. Evermore has been teasing about a lot of exciting things they have going for this year, so I'm super excited to see what they are up to. If you want to see some videos about what they're doing this year, this is a good place to do that. Until next time, keep creating and stay ever adventurous. Bye.
Forward and planning, Conrad found himself feeling something he had never felt before. It was his love for the potential financial benefits.